This is our Occupational Health and Safety Inspection, and we are the RMN Health and Safety Committee. The company that we inspected was Walmart, and as many may know, this is a multinational retail corporation that specializes in the sale of goods, clothing, foods, and household items. This company is classified as an industrial establishment under Regulation 851 Occupational Health and Safety Act. This is a diagram of Walmart floor plan. On the diagram, you can see this area where I'm pointing is the entrance. We also inspected certain areas of the sales floor, which is highlighted on the diagram. In this area is the customer service area, which we also had a chance to look at the job posting board. And in this region is the warehouse, in which we had limited access and we could do a small amount of inspection. This is our checklist form, and we use this to check off on areas we inspected just to ensure that every area was up to standard. We also looked at the safety board postings, and on the right you can see some pictures of the occupational health and safety policy, emergency flip chart, previous inspection reports, action plan, big 3 accident posters, and some photos of the safety team members.
Let's now look at the actual hazards we discovered and the possible hazards present. The actual hazards were wet floor and the snow accumulation. Immediately upon entering the building, we realized that there was a huge amount of snow piled up at the front of the building, which needed immediate attention. Possible hazards from working at Walmart could be the possibility of getting struck by objects falling from shelves, overexertion, and workplace stress. As I mentioned, the hallway was very wet due to the snow outside. At the entrance, we noticed that there were no caution wet floor sign in place to warn customers of the trip, slip, and fall danger. Somewhere in the middle of the hallway, we noticed that there was one caution sign, and we feel like it was not sufficient, and we also feel like it was not strategically placed to warn customers and employees of danger. And this, we feel, was a violation of the Industrial Establishment Regulation 851, Section 11, under the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Control measures for these actual hazards are, we're going to break them down into immediate control and long-term solutions, long-term controls. So mopping off the floor is an immediate control. We also recommend that they divide duties among staff members to check the designated areas and have someone mop the floor, possibly every 15 minutes. We noticed that throughout Walmart, they had several spill stations, but we feel that these were not effectively used and that day, as the floor was extremely wet. In terms of long-term solution, the committee felt the need that they could have placed more mats along the main high traffic walkways to prevent customers from slipping. And also these mats can also use to absorb the water. As I mentioned before, they have several spill stations in place, but they are effective for small spills, not on days where it was snowing. The day we went, it was snowing real bad, and we felt that these stations are not effective for on those days when the floor is extremely wet. We found that Walmart has what they call a weather station. It contains different items: mop, buckets, shovels, things needed to clear snow, mop the floor, but I said the floor was extremely wet, so we felt that this station was not being utilized on this particular day. Another thing we noticed that some areas of the store had high shelves, but what was a good thing, we noticed that they had a sign, ask for help with items on top shelves. And they also have different ladder stations throughout the store where employees could actually access these ladders to help a customer reach things from the top shelves. And definitely this can prevent items from falling and hitting a customer or possibly even a staff member. We observed the washroom and it was clean. We saw no hazard, no spills, no wet floor. Well, the floor wasn't really wet in this area. But what we observed and we think was a very good idea, they had a button installed in the washroom where if a customer sees a spill or the washroom is unclean, they could push this button and it sends a signal to the customer service area to inform them that the washroom needs to be cleaned.
So part of the places we inspected was the warehouse, though we were given limited access to this area. But from afar, we could see that the lightning level was insufficient. And according to Section 21 of Regulation 851, industrial establishment, there must be adequate lighting. So control measures. We believe that regular cleaning to replace, cleaning or replace light fixtures with fluorescent lighting to reduce the evident shadows and glares. Also, they can paint ceilings and walls in light colors that adequately reflects the light. Fire safety and emergency. Accessible fire emergency supplies, portable extinguishers easily seen, accessible and near exit. We noticed that they also have first aid kits. They also have fire emergency instructions used for all departments. That's for the fire safety and emergency section. Okay, for the job analysis, the role that we analyzed was the Walmart fulfillment associate, and his role and responsibility was loading and unloading merchandise from trucks, packing items for shipment, stocking and locating merchandise in the warehouse, and operating a forklift. Some of the possible hazards that we identified was physical strain from improper manual lifting, improper storage of materials. There's also the risk of substances spilling on the floor from damaged packages, loading and unloading with the possibility of being crushed between the forklift and the loading dock, and also getting struck by falling objects from the shelves. Some of the control recommendations include slip-resistant safety boots for employees. Also recommended to train employees to safely handle items. Forklift inspections must be performed daily. Forklift operators must be attentive and drive slowly on dock plates. Warning signs and mechanisms must be in place, and practice of proper posture must be in place when carrying and lifting items manually.
My teammate mentioned possible controls for hazards, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper into talking about the long-term and short-term solutions for controlling these hazards. So first, let's examine the possible hazards of physical strain from improper lifting, in manual lifting, that is, of boxes, for example. So it's recommended on a daily basis that employees should practice proper posture when lifting objects. And long-term solution would be train employees how to safely lift boxes, for example. Now, in terms of improper storage of material, we recommend that the passage aisle should be clear every day. It should be cleared. Nothing should be in the way. And a long-term solution could also be train employees. And another long-term solution that I recommend is actually to line the floor with red tapes outlining the areas that should not be blocked. In terms of risk of substances spilling on the floor from damaged packages, if this should happen, warning signs should be in place to advise employees or customers that there's a spill in this area, and it should be blocked off and cleaned immediately. In terms of long-term solution for the warehouse, in terms of preventing slip and fall from these, is to advise employees to wear non-slip boots, or even providing non-slip boots for the employees working in that department. In terms of loading and unloading of items from the truck, using the forklift, we recommend that forklift operators must be attentive, they must be properly trained, and they must drive slowly on the dock plates. And long-term solution would definitely be to train employees how to safely maneuver the forklift if they're using the manual one, or if they're using the other forklift, or to properly drive the forklift. In terms of stocking items on shelves, I remember in class we saw a video where, a very disturbing video of where an item fell from the top shelf, hit an employee, and that person actually died. So this is something that would definitely need to be prevented from happening in any work area. So in terms of short-term solution, it is recommended that shelves, large items be stored at the bottom of the shelves, and smaller and lighter items be placed at the top. And a short-term solution and a long-term solution, to this would be to make shelves in the warehouses lower. I know sometimes people are pressed for a space, but it's better when the shelves are lower. And I must say that in Walmart warehouse, the area that we saw, the shelves were very low. So if something should fall from the top shelf, it will cause minimal injury to an employee if it's a light load. Now, based on the possible hazards for the role of the fulfillment associate, we pretty much came up with a risk factor of whether they are high, medium, or low risk. We felt that physical strain was high risk. We felt that loading and unloading was also high risk because this was being done on a daily basis. We felt that spill from packages, that we were advised that this rarely happened. And if it does even happen, the floor is cleaned immediately. So we placed that in the low risk category. In terms of improper storage and blocking of passageway, the passageway in the warehouse were very huge, and there was nothing at all indoors area to prevent a person from properly going to and forth. So we felt it was like a medium risk because it could change on a daily basis. So if somebody put something out of place, it could definitely change the risk of falling from an item in that area. In terms of object falling from shelves, we noticed that we placed this in a medium category due to the fact that the shelves were pretty low for a warehouse, but they were still high enough where items could still fall and hit you in your head, for example. So we put this at the medium risk category. Now, this form is pretty much just a summary of all the hazards we observed, the risk level for the hazard, recommended action, and the person whom we spoke to or who is responsible for addressing these hazards. Thank you so much. That is the end of our presentation.